Welcome. It is the Ski Bum Podcast, and it is your pals, Mario and Ryan. Mario, what's up?
Not much, just recalling after Snowbound Festival, which was amazing, and getting on with Thanksgiving and some turkey. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, it was
Snow's falling, people racing.
Crazy recovery week this week. We had an awesome time at Snowbound. If you stop by and say hello, thank you. We do appreciate it. That was awesome. Met some cool new people, met some fans of the show. Got a little bit of perhaps a special treat to bring back for the holiday season to make things a little greener and warmer, perhaps.
Yes.
But yeah, it was an awesome time. We had actually talked to a friend of ours up there who is part of our main topic. We had an interview with our pal Mike Chait, who is the communications manager at J Peak Resort in Vermont. Yeah. I met him a few months ago, actually last month, back in October. We had a really cool conversation, trying to go back and forth, trying to make this interview happen. We saw him again up in Boston, finally made the conversation happen, and it's a cool story. Yeah, he went from a dude living out in the Midwest outside in Chicago to finding a bunch of jobs in the ski industry in Vermont. So we think you'll really dig this interview. He's a really good guy. Tons of cool information, informative, positive, inspiring. So stay tuned for that.
Got to go to J Peak this year.
Indeed.
Gotta go.
Thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it. Check us out, skibumpodcast.com. Send us an email, skibumpodcast@gmail.com. If you're on the website too, there's a shop, skibumpodcast.com/shop. This limited edition Red Boots t-shirt available.
I think it's pretty sweet.
We wore these up in Boston, and we are giving folks the opportunity to grab it because a lot of people were super into it. Until December 1st, actually November 30th, you have to order these. This is going to come out on Monday, the 28th. So you hear this, you'll still have 2 days. Go to the website, skibumpodcast.com/shop. Should be the first thing you see there. We also got new hats. We got the black versions of this hat. We got some beanies. We got some other stuff in there. We finally have a little bit of swag available. That one is not in the shop yet, but I have to get it in there. That's a good one.
That's the teaser.
It's almost like the Under the Ropes hat. If there was an Under the Ropes hat, that would be that one.
That's it. We got to do an Under the Ropes episode soon.
Yeah, we had some good conversations. Got the ideas churning up in Boston.
A lot of ideas.
A lot of ideas. Hit us up on the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Untapped, YouTube, at Ski Bum Podcast. Also, Patreon. We have finally launched our Patreon page. Folks have been wondering, hey guys, you do an awesome show. We love what you do. How can we give you money? And for the longest time, we were too stupid to have a good answer for that, which is why.
Right.
So now we have our Patreon set up. Finally, patreon.com/Skibum Podcast. It's all linked on the website if you forget any of this valuable information. Also, if you're on the website, subscribe to our email. We've been sending out more emails lately because we feel like we have information and things to share. Whenever we have a new episode, we'll send the link with some notes, some thoughts. I'm going to smash that goddamn sound machine. I'm going to fly down to Florida and smash that.
This thing's been going on for a while.
A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff going on right now. We have, this Snowbound Expo. I know we've been talking about it ad nauseum for the last month, but it really was a great event and gave us a lot of inspiration and ideas, and chatted with some people who gave us a lot of awesome information. Like, how about Dan Egan giving you 15 minutes of marketing advice? I mean,
Dan Egan gives a masterclass in 15 minutes.
Masterclass, which, I mean, he is the most generous, kind, awesome person in the ski industry. So
I love Dan.
Bought Dan's books or watched his videos, please go do that too.
Yeah.
I think that's everything. Is that everything? YouTube, you know what to do.
We're everywhere that podcasts are. Let's put it that way.
And how about we give a big shout out to our sponsor, the Chuck Bucket. This episode brought to you by the Chuck Bucket, a brand new ski rack from a startup out of Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a trailer hitch rack that's designed to hold 8 pairs of skis or 4+ snowboards, but be simple to load for the whole family and easy for anyone to install and uninstall from the hitch. So So check it
Dude, we
out
got to
at
do a straight out of Salt Lake
yeah,
rendition for him.
indeed. Go to thechuckbucket.com. TheChuckBucket.com. Nothing fancy, nothing cute.
Okay.
Thechuckbucket.com.
Boucher. Chuck
No,
Boucher.
don't confuse people. It's very simple. For
Bucket.
anyone who likes to shred in the off season, they also just launched a bike rack that works with their modular ski rack platform, available for pre-order at thechuckbucket.com. So you have your trailer hitch, you have the base piece that goes up, you take the bucket off, you put on the bike rack, you got 4 bikes. I got fingers, I got 4 fingers. You go
Boom.
boom along the back of your SUV. You're riding bikes. You can do fat bikes, you can do not fat bikes, you can do skinny girl bikes, whatever bikes you have, they fit
Skater
on
bike,
there.
like skinny teeny bikes, whatever you
Whatever
got.
bikes, beach cruisers, BMX bikes. Do they make those anymore? I
Cruisers.
don't even know. Check them out.
BMX. When's the last time you rode a BMX bike?
Um, Before I was on my own insurance, that's for
I'm
sure.
saying. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. You're on somebody else's insurance. You're BMXing the shit out of that
that's when
thing.
you're BMXing. Check them out
Boom.
at chuckbucket.com. Thank you so much. Mario, let's kick this off the way we always do.
It's time for Opry Today.
So this will be my last operate today, or my almost last operate today,
Oh
because
boy.
I've operated a lot today. This
Oh
is
boy.
this is what I do. It's a Saturday, right?
It's a weird Saturday night podcast we're recording here.
It is, and it's like kind of like there's football going on, but it's like I feel like I'm on vacation because like I'm on my 3rd day off.
It's Thanksgiving weekend and everyone's just off in general. Too much sugar.
Freaking, I love it though. I get to catch up
Tryptophan.
on sleep. It's a big thing. Brian and I
Yeah.
had like a whole half hour talking about like how I just like look forward to sleep. Bad, but I don't know what's happened to me.
Sleep is good.
I think I've gone with no sleep for so long. I'm trying to catch up now.
Yeah, sleep is good.
So anyway, I went with the and I sent you the image of the pumpkin Southern Tier has on their website. So
Oh, nice.
that would be a great Halloween costume, I gotta say.
You could be the pumpkin.
With the pumpkin.
Sort of looks almost like Vlad the Impaler, and with a pumpkin head.
A pumpkin head Vlad.
A good look.
And a crown, a black crown too. Not even like a golden crown. No, black crown. Like
It's like Vanta Black.
Yeah, they keep it dark.
Like
Well, this is
none
the
more
pumpkin nitro again. I had this once before on the podcast, but this is pretty sweet. So
I think you may be the pumpkin now.
the reason I had this again was I made a nice stew. So I got a nice sirloin steak, made a whole big thing. It was like a beef tip stew. And I put it in the hot pot and everything like that. So it was nice. Had the kids over, did a whole, jamboree. It was great. And finished off with some pumpkin pie. And I was looking forward to the pumpkin pie so much. I'm like, I'm breaking out this pumpkin on nitro to have with the pumpkin pie. Great pairing. It was weird. It was like I was drinking the pumpkin pie and eating the pumpkin pie.
Could you have made a milkshake out of it, like the pie and the pumpkin in the blender?
I think that's the next step. And that might be leftovers tomorrow because I have another pumpkin in the fridge that I could probably do that with. But this 8.6 ABV, I didn't realize that. It was a beefy one.
That's no joke. That's why it's the king. That's why it's not the squire, it's not the prince. Goddamn king.
Exactly. So rich, creamy, full, pumpkin spices, buttery crust, vanilla, roasted pecans. Those are the tasty notes they put on their websites. I don't get the buttery crust. I get the vanilla. I get a little pecan. I get pie spices, and I get pumpkin, which is good. What I like about it, it's not that fake pumpkin flavor that you get a lot of places. It's like it's like a real pumpkin flavor. So I'm a big fan of it.
That's why he's the king, because he's got the flavor down right. He's not trying to kill you with fakeness. He's keeping it real. He's a man of the people. He is the people's king. The pumpkin
king. Now, I did get a Hershey's Porter that I was thinking about mixing with the pumpkin.
Who makes that? Was that Yingling?
That's a Yingling.
So weird.
I got a batch of those this week. I saw it out. I was like, and this is Yingling territory down in Florida here. So they bought one of the old Budweiser breweries, and
it's so crazy because they're based out of Pennsylvania.
I know, but they brew a shitload here. So it's like, wow, it's down here. And I remember reading about that. Like we covered it, I had one of those this week, and it was actually pretty good. But I think that porter with this, I don't know if I should mix the beers or do a floater. Like, I don't know, black and tan with the porter and the. It might be too sweet though. I don't know.
You got some options.
Got options.
You got
So,
some options, right?
but that's what I'm doing over here in Florida. What are you up to up there in New Jersey, Brian?
I like it. Well, like we've talked about, we had a very busy, crazy weekend up in Boston.
Oh yeah,
And that's Saturday night, man. We were out late. I don't go out anymore. Like I just don't do it. It's just not a thing. We were out till like almost 1 a.m. We were out
yeah.
having some drinks. It wasn't crazy. It's not like we were like, falling down in the streets or anything. It was just,
That helped the destruction of me because I'm just like lack of sleep.
you know what it was? It was just there was a lot of stuff going on all day. And then we went out with our pals from Terracea,
A
which
lot of
was
fun though.
awesome. It was a great time. We had some fun shenanigans. We went to that bar.
Harmless shenanigans too.
That bebop bar was actually super cool.
Yeah, those are a lot of
If
fun.
you like live music, that was a really cool spot. Plus, you have like the Berkeley School of Music right there, so you're gonna get some.
Was that the
some
city place or whatever it was called?
Which place?
Oh, it was the Bebop bar.
Bebop was the bar,
Yeah,
but the Berkeley School of Music is like right around the corner. That's like where there's some amazing musicians have gone to school there.
yeah.
So it's like an all music school. So that was fun. And like we had to push on. We like had to, do our thing on Sunday. I had a 4.5 hour drive home Sunday night, back to work on Monday.
Like an 8-hour flight for
Kids
me.
were sick. Yeah, you had delays because you were flying. So I was doing everything I could to keep it together because my son was sick when we went to Boston. So
Aw,
I talked about it in the past. I had that, I think it's called Organifi, that green juice, but it's like a powder. You mix it with water. I
yeah,
had I had packets packed for Boston. So every day I had my little packet of green juice that I was
nice.
mixing. I had liquid IVs that I was packing. I was just trying to keep my immune system as jacked up as possible so I didn't get sick.
Next time
Got
we got to go for one of those IV therapy places.
That's
That's what
not
we
a
got
bad
to do.
idea.
To
Yeah,
finish it off, just coup de grace, just do that.
bang. Got through Boston, got home. Everyone's sick at home. Thanksgiving, we had to actually had like a quarantine shitty Thanksgiving because we couldn't go because my daughter was sick.
Oh,
So now I think it's finally hitting me because I just lack of sleep, up late, doing stuff on the website, posting stuff. I am in T mode right now.
mm.
I am in traditional medicinals, throat coat, but
Oh,
I
throat
gave
coat.
it.
That means it's bad.
It's. I could tell it has the potential to be bad. It's almost like if you had a weather control machine and you saw a hurricane forming in the Atlantic, and you're like, "Hey, man, should I let this play out like it's going to, or should I intervene and try to stop it?" Like if you had a giant bucket of, if you were God and a giant bucket of ice cubes, and you could like chuck it on the hurricane to quell it or let it run its course.
Do you
I'm
use
trying to chuck that
traditional
bucket.
medicinals? Settles all.
It's as hardcore as you can get with tea.
I like the
So
Gypsy Cold Care. That's my favorite.
Gypsy Cold Care solid too. But this is the throat coat. And I
Yeah.
put in some Grand Marnier. And for
Mm.
those listeners who have listened to us over the past year, thank you. And I was talking about Grand Marnier earlier this year because I was putting it in tea every night back in January. I bought a handle of Grand Marnier and it's like 2/3 gone, which is better than
Only
the
two
pace.
thirds. I thought we'd be
It's
done with it by now.
Yeah, the pace I was on in January was a little bit concerning. Dialed it
I thought
back.
you would have hit up Costco by now for another handle.
Well, I'll tell you, if you're doing mimosas, a little splash of that is awesome.
I like that
Margaritas,
idea.
Grand Marnier is solid. Oh,
Tomorrow is
an
Sunday.
old
It could
fashions.
be. I could throw that in the
There you go.
mimosas tomorrow.
If you're making old fashions, I'm just saying, you could throw a little bit of Grand Marnier in there to give it a nice little je ne sais quoi, I believe they call it.
Not bad.
I'd recommend it. But yeah, got my Grand Marnier, which is cognac and orange liqueur for those who aren't
Boom.
familiar, who aren't down with the GM.
Uh,
I got that in my tea, and it's going to get me through this podcast, which luckily is a short one and a wrapper because we already did the interview a couple
Yeah.
days ago with our pal
Nice.
Mike Chait from J Peak.
Thank you, Mike, again.
Good dude.
Let's go to ski news.
So this is a Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. It's going to be out Monday. Michaela Schifrin came in 13th in Giant Slalom at Killington. The
Boom.
fact that Killington pulled it off again is absolutely awesome. The new lodge is open down at the base, which is so
Oh,
cool.
was it open?
I think it was open. They were talking
'Cause it
about
was-
it on the broadcast. I know Tim, our buddy from Ski Rex, he's there.
There was talk that it might not be open yet. They were like, it's kind of on the
They were like
cusp, but
installing the escalator a week and a half ago. And I don't know if permitting or what had to get done. I'm sure some palms had to get greased
that's
to take
right.
care of business because this is a big event.
Hey, forget about it. Look
The
the
weather
other
was
way.
great today. I mean, I think they said it was 40 degrees,
Oh,
which
wow.
in the sun was great, but most of the race course was in the shade.
That's
So
good.
that was awesome. So it was like best of both worlds for everybody. I was watching Tim's Twitter this morning. He said it was like 28 or something. He was pretty cold, which
Oh, wow.
of course, because it is a ski
Good.
race, so it should be. So that's going on. So we're recording this. I don't know what's gonna happen Sunday. You'll know already when you listen to this after Monday. Places are finally opening up all over the place. Snowbird, Big Sky, Jackson Hole, Grand Targhee, Beaver Creek, Crested Butte. All of them opened in the last couple days.
Yeah.
Mount Hood delayed due to lack of snow. Very concerning.
Oh,
But
delay.
how about Hamburg, New York? They
How about it?
had a record 81.2 inches of snow, setting a
Boom.
New York record. This happened almost a week ago now, but this was like in Boston. This was the big story. Everybody was talking about it, which was funny and kind of cool. And I think Andrea was showing us a picture. They were measuring the snowfall based on Buffalo Bill players, which is hilarious.
Yes, I saw that.
Because
That's
Singletary,
awesome.
I guess, was like 5'7", so they're showing
Yeah.
he's like covered, and then
Yeah.
Josh Allen was like almost covered at the time, and one guy who was like super tall, like he still could see his nose and up. But Hamburg, New York, which is about 10 miles, 5-10 miles south of Buffalo,
Yeah.
had an official storm total of 81.2 inches.
Damn.
Wednesday night through Sunday, and this surpasses the total by Orchard Park of 80 for the most recent lake effect snow emergency. They also surpassed the 2014 lake effect snow event in the Buffalo South Towns by a few inches, although the wind was a bit less. Hamburg also smashed the record for most snow in a 24-hour period in New York, receiving 66 inches in 24 hours. The previous record was 50, set in Camden in 1966. So this was an absolute monster storm.
Yeah, that's
I don't know exactly how the ski resorts fared because Holiday Valley is just a little bit south of there.
Powder Day at Holiday Valley, man.
They're roughly an hour south, but they're saying they have a 4 to 20 inch base right now,
Damn.
which is pretty good.
And if you go to University of Buffalo, which is where I went, that was one of the places that the Schischmeister Ski Club would go to. And you can go enjoy that twice a week, I think, at night and once during the day. So,
Look at that.
yeah, a lot of fun. Nice little ski area.
So it's funny, they're showing that, their snowfall totals. They have 50 inches so far for the season. So I'm guessing that snow dumped about 4 feet on them.
Damn.
But it sounds like it must have had a warmer week this week because it's saying the depth is only 4 to 20. I don't understand that unless they had an earlier snowstorm. But yeah, because of the snow, it's helping out over there in Western New York and some of those Western ski towns.
Well,
which
good
is
for
great.
them.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good way to start the season.
Awesome. All right, next up, in another side of things, we have Park City Mountain Ski Lift Mechanics unionized, and this is the first in the U.S. for a group to do this. So it's official.
Very interesting.
In Park City, Lift Maintenance Professional Union has officially formed. It was a vote that was cast out of 41 eligible voters, 35-6 vote. They cast it. They're going to pick union head. It's going to be interesting. We'll see where it goes. So Park City Mountain Vice President, COO Deirdre Walsh, said a statement that the outcome was disappointing, but that she appreciated people taking the time to vote and respected the decision. So, of course, because she's going to have to work with the union now. The results were certified by NLRB. I have no idea what that is. National something, whatever. and it has labor laws and bargain and good faith and represent the selected by lift mechanics and electricians. So it's lift mechanics and electricians in the same thing. So this is interesting because electricians usually have pretty solid unions throughout, and it is the lift operators in the same union with electricians. So
that isn't like the Teamsters, is it?
no, Teamsters are separate. Electric usually has its own. That's the interesting thing. They're like the electricians are in with the mechanics. So usually I think mechanics are usually Teamsters,
Mm-hmm.
and electricians are usually another big union. So
They actually have a pretty cool logo, the United Professional Ski Patrol of America. I guess that's part of it. That's like the overarching group.
oh, all right,
And it looks like it's the red background with the white cross, but
nice.
the horizontal cross is like two shaking hands.
Two with one guy giving the other guy like
Just slipping like 100 in there, a couple.
100. There's 100 in the middle of the handshake.
Hey, perhaps maybe.
It's a guy or a girl. I don't know what it is,
I
but
didn't
it's
see
somebody with.
nothing. That's
There's
all I
about a
know.
C note in between the two.
All I know is I didn't see nothing.
I can see nothing. And there's a guy in the background looking the other way.
Yeah.
Profile of the person like looking the other way.
Nick, it says the new union will contain both lift mechanics and electricians and will operate under the United Professional Ski Patrols of America, which is an arm of the Communications Workers of America.
So if Tony Soprano were real and alive, would he be able to go in there and be like, yeah, I took the lift all night, went skied the whole place?
Mitt Romney is the Tony Soprano of Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps, maybe.
Mitt Romney Day.
Yeah. Woke up this morning, got yourself another wife.
Oh, boom, boom.
The reason why Mitt Romney's family, well, his dad, the Romney clan is based down in Mexico.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why
his dad was born in Mexico, right?
Yeah, it's the reason why his dad couldn't run for president, because he was born in Mexico.
You know what's messed up? When he ran for president, they painted him to be some white supremacist. And it's like, you realize his dad was from Mexico, you bunch of idiots. Like,
yeah, but the reason why his dad moved down there, or like his family moved down there in the first place, was so they could have multiple wives, so they could have polygamy.
Yeah.
So
who wants another wife?
Dude,
For anybody that's had a wife,
nobody with a wife wants more wives. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how they must be trained in how to deal with women, because I don't know.
I mean, a girlfriend or two on the side, hey,
still weighs me down. That's a lot of. That's
Friday?
a lot.
What is it? Fridays are for the wives, Saturdays are for the girlfriends. Is that what it was from the Goodfellas?
Even that's a lot to keep track of. I don't know,
dude. Like, I mean, sleep is awesome, as you said before, and skiing. Like, think about how much that would cut into your skiing schedule, having a girlfriend and a wife.
I was watching something, and Melanie and I were watching this show, and the guy's like he's married, and he's talking to this other girl, apparently. And he's like, oh, I'll come see you in a little bit. And I'm like, you know the freaking energy it takes? Like, there's a lot of stuff I could do with that extra time that they're taking to do all this other stuff. Like, I don't know.
Younger you is disappointed in you.
I'm a little disappointed, but I'm a little happy that I'm not there. I have one wife. That's it. That's all I deal with. One girl. That's it. I don't have to. I'm not on Bumble and Tinder. I got one girl. That's it.
Ashley Madison.
I don't have to deal with anything.
It is a lot easier. That's for sure.
Yeah. I can focus in on like living life rather than like trying to find someone to live my life with. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I think we should have our own dating app, like ski dating app. What do you think? Ski bum dating app?
It's going to be like 90% dudes.
It would be dudes hooking up with dudes to go skiing.
Just bro downs.
That's right. Bro down.
That's what we'll call it. We'll call it bro down.
Bro down.
You broed me.
So it'd be the grinder of ski apps.
You broed me. We'll call it grind and wax.
Grind and wax.
Grind and wax.
Oh my God.
Right?
It's just gets more horrible as you start it like with good intentions, and all of a sudden it just goes into some other direction. You're like, this isn't what I started. Like, you are the champion of this kind of ski dating app that
spirals out of control. You know, you gotta it's just like the ocean, man. You gotta ride the wave.
You feel like, whatever, man. I'm just
gotta
great.
ride it. That's all you can do. Well, speaking of doing all you can do, Ski Magazine had a cool article about the 14 new chairlifts we're looking forward to riding this winter.
Ooh, looking
So,
forward to.
Whistler delayed their gondola, Park City canceled lifts, and Keystone, they squashed their terrain expansion. But there are some capital improvements that are happening. Whitefish, they added the Snow Ghost Express.
All right, I gotta say, in all seriousness, when are we going to Whitefish? We got to do a Whitefish trip.
I know.
Not gefilte fish. No, I want whitefish.
Not gefilte.
Not salmon, not trout. Whitefish. I want whitefish.
Whitefish. There you go. So yeah, they're replacing their Chair 4, which has been in service since 1978.
Damn.
Ride time will be a scant 7 minutes, which is nice. Rip's Ride at Breckenridge being replaced with a high-speed quad. It serves beginner terrain, and this crucial lift will help disperse skiers out of the popular Peak 8 base. Base-to-base gondola and Red Dog Quad Palisades Tahoe. So the Palisades to Alpine Meadows is finally completed.
Wow.
They've been talking about this since like at least 2016. That they were going to put this in.
Like, can't they put like in parentheses, formerly Squaw, for a little while? Because every time I see Palisades, I gotta like do the translation in my head. Like, what was that before?
No, you need to just change everything instantly.
I think I should just look at it as a brand new ski area that just popped up out of nowhere in Tahoe. How about that?
I wonder how many times Johnny Mosley has said squaw since they've changed it.
It's got to be hard. I mean,
they probably have a shock collar on
life saying it, right?
They probably have a shock collar on him. When he's about to say, it's like squaw. It gets like fried. I mean Palisades Tahoe. Yeah, going squaw. No, I mean Palisades Tahoe. Sorry. And eventually Johnny will get it.
Yeah,
that's
eventually.
Opening December 17th. Whistler Creekside Gondola. It's delayed, but it apparently will open this season. What's that?
That was delayed, right?
That was a delayed one, but it's apparently going to open this season at some point. Game Creek Express and Sundown Express at Vail. We got 2 upgrades there. Help skiing in the bowls.
Are they allowed to call it Vail still?
They still are.
Right,
as of this morning, it's still able to be called Vail. Grand Targhee, first new lift and terrain expansion in over 20 years. The Coulter lift will debut on Peak Mountain and access 600 acres of former cat skiing or hike to terrain.
You know, that's awesome, but I'm sure some people are like unhappy about it because like now you get fat people up on the mountain again. I don't know.
My sister was actually at Grand Targhee a couple days ago, and she had sent pictures, of course. I think it was yesterday.
Nice, of course.
Yeah.
She's living your dream.
She is living my dream, actually. she really is. Dating this hunky guy, going skiing all the time, just living my dream. But she's going to die alone, so that's on her.
Damn. That's cold-blooded right there.
Well, we're starting to fight dirty at this point.
Unless the hunky guy steps up.
Well, he has brain damage, which is the only way he could date my sister. Like,
damn it.
That's seriously.
Brain damage. That's not good.
Nope. So Grand Targhee, and how about good old Mount Snow? The Sundance Express. It is replacing the Sundance and Tumbleweed fixed grip lifts with a high-speed 6-pack, which will increase uphill capacity by a whopping 70% and greatly ease base area congestion.
Nice.
Now, Mount Snow has some base area congestion, so this is
say it ain't so, right?
Oh God, I still remember. I think it was February 2013.
Oh, the freezing cold. Oh my God.
Almost 2 hours wait for that stupid bluebird.
That was the coldest I've ever been. I think I was contemplating peeing myself just to get warm.
Yeah. I think we all had that thought.
That was bad.
Telluride. Chair 9 plunge lift. So their opening day is actually the day we're recording this, 26th. They are going to open this new lift. Is it saying it's actually open yet? So it used to be a fixed grip triple, which is being retired, and a new high-speed quad is taking its place. The new lift will nearly half the current ride time taking it down to a brisk 7 minutes, and it's going to open late in December. How about Heavenly? You can still call it Heavenly, right? Out in California, the North Bowl Express, replacing the old fixed grip triple that's been hauling skiers for decades. The upgrade will increase uphill capacity by 40% and help to ease congestion at nearby Stagecoach and Olympic lifts.
You know what? We got to go back and do Heavenly because we were such a bunch of bitches when we went there. It was great because it opened our minds to like skiing out west. Like that was that was the first place I skied out west.
Yeah, that's what
And I was
got
like,
me into skiing.
I was such a prissy little bitch. I didn't know what to do. And it's like, I want to go back there and just, I want to
Do it
what's
right.
the one, gun barrel?
Gun barrel, yeah.
I want to do gun barrel top to bottom because I could do it now. Like I was
100%.
so afraid of like going off course into that.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
We were boys then, and now we are men.
Just, we were like little women.
Like a couple of little broads over here.
Little broads over there.
Yeah. Sundance Resort in Utah, the Wildwood Quad and terrain expansion. They're amplifying beginner and intermediate terrain for the season, unveiling 40 new acres featuring 10 green and blue trails accessed by a fixed grip Wildwood Quad. TBD, Comstock Express at North Star in California. The Tahoe Resort is zeroing in on improving skier flow on a mountain choke point with the upgrade of the Comstock Quad to a high-speed 6-pack. They should be open now, and this new lift should be open as well. And then last one, the Sunrise Express at Stowe, Vermont. Replacing a fixed grip mountain triple with a Sunrise high-speed 6-seater will likely have a positive effect on queues at the Mansfield base this winter. The resort has also extended the lift down the Mansfield base lodge, eliminating the annoying hike.
Well, why don't you want to hike? I like to hike because it weeds out a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's not really a hike. It's like a flat walk. It's not really
That's
a hike
right. It
so
still
much.
weeds out a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. But you still got to pay for parking and make your reservations, and hopefully you did already, because otherwise you're not getting parking, because that's the big thing happening at Stowe this winter. So check out those new chairlifts. Hopefully somebody tested them first, so you're not the crash test dummy.
Yeah, like at what point do you want to be on there first, right? Like
you don't want to be first chair. I don't know. Some people are all excited, like, "Woo, I'm the first chair." Like, give it a few.
You're actually,
Give
you
it a
know,
few.
you're actually the first test chair that we're putting up there.
Yeah. You didn't look at the fine print on your lift ticket?
Yeah. Hey, we get you free lift ticket today. Great. You're riding the first chair.
Well, we were
Woohoo.
there when the Bluebird opened at Mount Snow, right?
Yeah.
They
And
gave
everybody wanted to get the golden chair. Remember
Golden
the
chair.
golden shower chair or whatever it was called? And
golden
was-
shower chair.
And then of course the first day we're there, somebody's like trying to like gets caught for like putting graffiti on it. Like it's just
Like, couldn't smoke in there. Like, people were just very proud.
like, I
and
don't know how to
uptight.
act on this. Yeah, exactly.
Am I allowed to enjoy this?
No, you're not. Just
9.
sit there and shut up.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, next up we have a French village.
Speaking of sitting down and shutting up.
Yeah, that's right. It's a village in the French Alps, demolished and ski lift because there's no snow left. After several squeaks, the rusty wheel was wrenched from the tarnished white pole that once proudly stood on mountainside. The French alpine village of Saint Fermin to bid farewell to the ski lift as a small team worked to dismantle it late last month. The reason it hasn't been used for years because there's no more snow. So they're saying global warming happened, and the elected official, they said, we're going to give it back to nature because the snow hasn't been hitting very well, and they decided to get rid of their lift. So while it once enjoyed regular winter snowfalls, things had deteriorated in recent decades. And they're saying because of global warming, the French European ski resort climate crisis is blamed for shortening ski seasons and reducing mountain snow and glacier cover. So lack of snow meant the last time it ran was about 15 years ago, and for just one weekend. Since then, it has not been used again. So finally, they tore it down, decided to put some more grass in its place, and that's it. I don't know what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer to see something like that. And again, while we were at Snowbound, if you guys are drinking every time we talk about Snowbound, like you guys have been hammered the last month, we know that.
Oh, here we
But
go.
when we
Boom.
had see, Mario's got the shirt on. We did have a great panel that we hosted, talking about climate change and how things are changing, especially in the Alps. Um, with Hugh James, who actually was on two of the panels there and had a really good presentation and showing some pictures over the last couple decades, specifically in France, because he's from Wales, and showing Mont Blanc and a lot of those areas where usually folks would be ice climbing,
Yeah.
showing just how much of that permafrost is receding and melting, and it's a little scary. So
Yeah, I kind of think about it like as he's telling the story, like at the permafrost, like so. If anybody doesn't know, the way it's explained is the permafrost is the freezing of the ground, where the ground is the the frozen ground is actually holding it together. So once it starts thawing out, you actually get these rock slides, not just snow. It's the rock starts sliding because the permafrost melts and there's nothing really to bind the rock and earth together. So it just slides. So what you actually have are the collapsing of some of these big mountains. Like it's pretty amazing to think about it. Like if you don't have the permafrost, some of these mountains are just going to crumble down. So
yeah, what was the example of how it wasn't like stalactites, was it?
oh,
There was some
it's
example he gave in terms of like almost like
they
teeth
did
or
like the teeth together. So stalactites and stalagmites coming
yeah.
together. And what happens is they start like separating and getting loose, and then all of a sudden, but I think that's what they were talking about, a lot of slides, right? So like that's where the
It's not
sliding
like
happens.
a clean collapse or a clean break. It's like a
Yeah,
slide off.
right. But they're saying it's like it's not just snow. Like you see stuff that's rock, and it starts sliding, and you just have boulders and shit. Like it was pretty terrifying. Like some of the videos he had were just rocks just coming down, boulders like coming down, like the size of half of a car, just come tumbling down. I'm like, that's pretty. That's pretty terrifying. So
Yeah,
if
and
you're a
to
rock
actually
climber or you're
just
hiking, and
yeah,
you got to
like
watch
ice
out.
climbers to see it like year to year, the
Yeah,
big change
yeah.
is concerning.
But I thought it was very interesting where so something like this they're talking about. So they got rid of the list um, because there hasn't been snow in their area, right? So one of the examples he gave was there's a train that runs, I think in France, right? Where they have steps that go down to the glacier. So you can see the glacier. So it used to be in the 1800s or whenever it was, you can step off the train onto the glacier. Now, because of the receding of the glaciers, they have these steps, and now it's like was 100 something steps.
Yeah.
So you get winded going down to see the glacier, and then you come back up to the train. So it's pretty interesting to see that. But isn't that like a normal occurrence of what a glacier does? Like just over time, isn't that going to happen? So it kind of
See,
goes both ways. Like,
that's what I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like I'm not planting my flag anywhere. Like I just
yeah,
know things do change, and I don't know how much of it is what we do versus what the earth does. But
yeah.
it's just something again to I don't think it's I think there's the more data you get, the better it is.
Well, I think what we're doing is not good, but I gotta wonder.
It's not the only reason though.
But I gotta wonder the motivation. So for some of this, right, they're saying, well, we have to do a better job because we want to protect the ski industry. But I almost wonder, is the ski industry part of the problem? Right? Like
Very
I love
possible.
skiing. I'm always gonna ski, but do I need a resort to be there to go skiing?
Do I
Or
need
can
condos
people
and fancy
exactly infrastructure and all this other
mhm,
stuff built on a mountain that was never meant to have that? Like it's great for business and they want to protect it, but what are we really protecting? Are we protecting the environment, or are we really protecting the
our
industry that
pocketbooks?
lives off of that environment, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I don't know, it's a yin and yang. I like the fact that they're ambassadors for trying to keep the environment going and everything, but I almost wonder. I don't know. I just kind of think there's something else there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, to again, I think as long as you keep talking about it, I think that's important to and I think to kind of dig in and understand people's motivations, like
Yeah.
you kind of alluded to, because I think over the last couple of years, if you have followed the money, you could find the answers to a lot of the questions. And
Yeah.
I think that's just human nature. And that's something that I think it's very cute and romantic to ignore. But if you really want to find the truth in things, that's often the best way to find it.
Well, Hugh did a great job, and if you want to look up his work,
We're
and
trying to get him on the podcast, actually. I reached out to him.
yeah, what I like what he said about if he's out walking on paths when they're hiking or something like that, and you want to stay on the path, and people are like, well, the path is very destructive. He's like, but it's already destroyed, so why would you want to go off the path and destroy more? Like, because people are like, oh, I don't want to really kill this kill the environment more. I want to walk on a different route. Like, why do a different route? Just do the same route because it's less destructive, because it's already destroyed, right? So I kind of get that. Like, and I kind of like where he's coming from. He's a little bit more realistic on a few things that he said.
What I
But
liked about the two conversations, so the one with Hugh and then the one with
the
Jay
panel,
Cordera,
yeah,
I liked how all of his everything he had was all very scientific.
yeah,
It wasn't just like, "Hey man, we should do this and we should do that." It was, "Hey, we should do it and here is the evidence of why." Because he had a great chart. Well, it was a terrible chart, but it was a great chart to
yeah,
show the uh it had a maybe over the last 50 years, and it showed the snowfall and the amounts in New Hampshire,
hmm,
like how, and they showed, there was like spikes up and downs across that time, but the general trend was less snow.
yeah,
And I think data like that is data you can't really argue against, because it's like, hey, this is just what it was. Like, we're not trying to argue for anything. We're just trying to predict the snow, but this is what, in predicting the snow, we have come across. Like, this is the
right.
information we've, you know, got.
But that's all I'm thinking. Like, so that next level is you say, I don't want to be destructive to the environment, so let's be less destructive. But then you start asking the question, why are we going there anyway?
Why are we
Why
skiing in
do
general? Like, isn't
why do we
skiing
have to
just
go in the
crappy?
wilderness? Right, exactly. Like, it's nature, and it's nature where man didn't ever go. Why would we start going there in mass now? And why is that good? Like, and I get like trying to sustain the industry, but as an industry that wants to protect it, like, you kind of wonder, like, that's what's causing the stress to the environment, right? Like, I don't see yin and yang. There's something else there, like I said.
Yeah. No, it is.
Dirty,
And
dark secret nobody wants to talk about.
yeah, I think the more honest we are with what we're doing, and that does have impact. I think honesty and real data is going to help us, but I don't think it's really going to solve anything,
Yeah.
because like you said, like, what we're doing is just bad. Really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
If we're playing that game, if we're playing a zero sum game, we should just stop skiing. But we're not going to do that. So let's try to just be as like, least destructive as possible.
Right.
Right.
Right. If you still have a resort, like, we want to so we're trying to get more people in the ski industry, right? Well, how is that going to be sustainable long term if it's already destructive?
Right.
Like, and that's where they're looking at the resorts to say, look, you gotta make sure that you run a cleaner operation. You run, zero emissions, like, environmental friendly, because we're trying to get more people to go to a place where we're trying to protect that environment. So it's a very important thing, especially for the people running the industry. And that's, kind of where it goes, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. So we'll see. We're trying to do our best. Like, that's it. And again, places that tear down their lift because they have no snow is not great. But and then, you know, I asked the question to Hugh. I'm like, should we just start moving further north? Like, is that the answer? And he's like, some places have started doing that. I mean, the Alps, you really can't do that. That's the problem. The Alps are the Alps. Like they are where they are.
Right.
And so, there's nowhere else to go. But if
But
you're
he
in
did say they're
Canada,
trying to put ski areas higher and higher elevations. They
yeah,
keep moving.
yeah.
You
So
know,
it's again, one door closes, another one opens.
you know, you keep moving up, up and up and up. Where's the next place you go? Mars, Mars.
There you go. Olympus Mons. It's there.
Do you go ski Olympus Mons? Be like, woo! I want to ski to Olympus,
Yeah,
Mount Olympus. No, Olympus Mons.
because of the way Mars, I guess because of the way the mountain ranges are there. It's just one like kind of like tall mountain. It isn't like a range. I forget something about the way the tectonics of the planet work. I looked it up once. Long time
Olympus
ago.
Mons to Mons Venus. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Boom. Tap it to Mars.
Well, that wraps up the ski news. And as we alluded to earlier in our main topic here, we have a conversation with our pal, Mike Chait. He is the communications manager at J Peak.
I love
He
JP.
has a
Gotta go
great
back.
story of how he got there, his journey from the Midwest up to Vermont. A very cool guy, a very cool story. We think you're going to dig it. Check him out, Mike Chait. And we have another very special guest this week. This gentleman I met about a month and change ago at a Ski Vermont event in New York. And then we also caught up with each other at the Snowbound Expo just last week. He's got a lot of stuff going on in his world right now. His resort is opening in a couple of days. They just had a big sale, which everyone's been talking about, at least in the Northeast. So a big welcome to Mr. Mike Chait from J Peak. Mike, welcome.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Brian. Thanks, Mario.
And your official title is Director of Marketing and Communications?
No way.
No?
Communications Manager. It's great. I love it.
Awesome. I was trying to give you a promotion. It's the holiday season, right?
I don't got time for that one, Brian.
There's too much skiing and boarding to do to be dealing with all these like social media and press releases and whatnot, right?
That's great. I appreciate the shoes that I'm coming in to fill are pretty hefty, so I love it the way it is. It's a great place to work, and they know what they're doing, so I trust everything that they're doing moving forward.
Yeah, we always love J Peak. We love skiing there. It's just been so interesting this whole last 6 years. Where, I mean, was it the receivership? Is that what it was officially called before the sale?
Yeah, that's what it was called. A federal receivership. So basically, there was a high-powered attorney overseeing the resort from Florida, and allowing the leadership to continue to drive the company in the right direction, and the staff there to keep doing what they're doing so well. But things had to get passed by that high-powered attorney, essentially.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And when we were up at Snowbound, your boss, Mr. Steve Wright, did a great podcast with Stuart over at Storm Skiing, and they did it live there, and they were going over the whole process, and he went into some pretty good details about what it was like there the last 6 years. And I would definitely recommend anyone want more information, check that one out, because that was a really cool. It was a really cool conversation because, again, as skiers and boarders, we just kind of show up and we're like, oh man, there's a line. Oh, why isn't this like this? It's like you guys were on like pins and needles. And I know you've only been there for a couple of months now, but like the crew that was there, I mean, pins and needles for 6 years, not knowing, what could happen. So
it was pretty wild. I was kind of a fly on the wall per se. I live not far south of Jay, and I've been in the industry working at a different resort for the last 16 years, and so I was watching very closely. And Jay was like kind of a home away from home for me anyway, where we'd steal off and ride up there. Really any chance we'd get. It always stayed open later as well, and so it was a good spot to shoot up to and get some late season turns as well. And also, sneaky pow days and whatnot. So I had a pretty good understanding of what was going on. I had a lot of friends through all of it that worked up there and were embedded in the community, and kind of hearing firsthand from them allowed me to at least feel the emotion, and certainly it was a heavy time for a lot of people. And what was really cool about it to see from afar is those who stuck with it, which is the majority of their core team there, and how much they believed in Jay, and they believed in the future that Jay has, and how much they believe in Jay Peak as a brand and as a mountain and as a family and a community.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the way that Steve kind of, steered that ship over the last 6 years to get everyone to develop the level of comfort that got them and got all of you to where you are now, which is awesome.
Yeah, they've been very frank with their everybody, their team, their stakeholders, throughout all of it. Transparent, honest, and that develops trust, and that also keeps your team tight. When everybody can believe in each other, they want to support one another, and that keeps the machine moving, right?
Oh yeah, that's critical, especially when you're in kind of tumultuous times.
Yeah.
So I said we were gonna wait to talk about Jay, but it's just everyone loves talking about it. You guys are opening in 2 days. Like it's I've never heard anyone say anything bad about it. But before we get to that, let's talk about Mike Chait and his journey. So where did you grow up, and do you remember the first place you ski or snowboarded at?
I remember it well. Yeah, man. So I grew up just outside of Chicago, just north of the city, right on Lake Michigan, and it was windy and cold at times, and the winters were harsh. And I loved it. We'd have school get canceled because it was so cold or whatnot, and we'd go sledding. So that was always fun. And I started riding at this mountain. This little company called Vail owns it now. It's one of their few. And
Vail? How's that spelled? VALE?
Something like that. They own it now. It's called Wilmot Mountain. It's just north of the Illinois-Wisconsin border, and tiny little hill. I don't know quite the vertical. It's shockingly low. If you were to ride down the front face on it in control at a good clip, you'd make it to the bottom somewhere between 7 to 10 seconds, I'd say. Pretty wild, but it was an awesome experience. They had night skiing, and we could go up after school and lie to our parents about where we were going, and spend the evening up there at the library, and we could raise hell as kids and figure it all out. It was like 45-minute drive, so we could make it happen. It was a cool place. It was icy. It was core, and they turn out so many numbers there because it's so close to the city. It's not too far from Milwaukee too, and it's remarkable what they do there. So it makes sense why Vail bought them up, because of their market. But as far as I went as a kid, me and my buddies, we raised hell at that place. We had a blast.
200 feet of vertical.
200. All right, cool. I was going to say like 160. So
yeah, and I think they are rounding up too.
Yeah,
it looks like it's closer to like 184 or something, 186. So
there you go.
Hey man, that's the best places, So did you start snowboarding first?
Yeah, I never really skied. My parents took me when I was a little kid to some place in Wisconsin, and I was pretty scared to go down the steep part because I didn't know how to control myself, and so I didn't really do anything with it. But I loved the experience, Brian. I loved it, man. The lodge and the getting the gear on and being outside and the smell of the smoke and everything. I loved it all. And so I was probably I'd say 14 or 15 years old, and my best friend Elliot, who I still am very close with, he reached out and said, "Hey, man, the synagogue's taking a trip up to Wilmot. Let's go. Come on, come with me. I've snowboarded a couple times. It's freaking awesome, man." And so I said, "All right, I'll try it." So I rented a snowboard, and it included a lesson, which is awesome, and probably why I ended up preaching the importance of lessons for so long in my life. But I took a lesson, and the guy, had us going up and falling off the top of the chairlift within 10 minutes, and eating shit up there, and we had a great time with it. And I figured a few things out, and I got home, and my parents said, "Well, how did it go?" I said, "This was awesome. I got to do this." And we rolled over to this place called the Shred Shop, which is like the spot, the shop in Chicago, real core shop, board shop. And I worked out a deal with them. They gave me a loan. I had whatever money I saved up from work. I put that down, and then I paid them back for everything. I bought a full setup, and I never looked back, man. I made it a thing. It was great.
Oh, that is awesome. So you were like 14, 15, you said, when you started?
Yeah, somewhere in there. It wasn't too much longer after that we started mixing cars into the deal. So and so has a car. Let's pile
That's
into
game
there.
changer. Yeah.
We had our methods. I'm not going to go into those as this is being recorded, but our ways of coming up with some money to pay for gas to get there and back, and donuts
statute
on the
of
ride
limitations has expired probably at this point.
Well, we had a game, and it was very successful in order to make that happen. And nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt, and nobody was taken advantage of, so it worked out okay.
Everybody was a willing participant. It's
Yeah.
cool, Mom. Don't worry.
I don't think Vail has the same season pass system as they had back then in the 90s, but whatever. Okay.
We all can just, our minds are wandering where this goes, but it's all in good fun.
Let me make another one of these Caucasians, and maybe I'll tell you.
Oh, there you go. So you're a teenager, you're skiing Wilmot. How does your 20s kind of play out, and how do you end up getting into the mountains?
So my parents were teachers. They were naturalists, and I wouldn't go so far as to say hippy dippy, but they like nature, and they believe in learning about it and valuing the earth. So they always had me in these programs, educational programs in the summertime and whatnot, where we would escape to Wisconsin, and we would learn about the geological history up there, because there's a lot of cool geological history, and it's not actually flat in all places, and there's some cool stuff. So mountain biking was actually really popular very, very early on up there, and rock climbing. There was a lot of granite limestone up there you could climb. A place called Devil's Lake had it was gorgeous, and bluffs and whatnot. So we'd hike and do all that stuff. And I loved it. And, fast forward a bunch of years, I was in college in Chicago, downtown Chicago, at Columbia College, studying photography. And I went out. My sister had a job in Vermont. She worked in broadcast journalism, and came out to visit her. Trey Anastasio band, guy from Fish, was playing in Burlington, go figure. And she had tickets, and she said, "Hey, I got tickets for you. Come on up. It's all access. You can't say no." So I grabbed.
You're in college at this point?
I'm in college. So I grabbed the closest, dumbest friend I could find and said, "Hey, you want to do an overnight drive with me out to Vermont? We'll stay for 2 nights, and then we'll drive back for Monday." And
and he said, "Fish like from Burlington?"
Yeah, they're from right around here. They only a couple of them live around here still, but yeah, that's hometown for those guys.
Nice.
So we had to say yes, and we came out, and I saw the landscape as soon as the sun came up, because it was dark when we got here, but 17 hours later, I saw the landscape, and I said, "Holy crap, this is this is like what everything I love about Wisconsin on steroids. The mountains or the bluffs that I loved. The green rolling bluffs up there are more mountainous in Vermont. They're taller. They're a lot more vast. There's rocky peaks, and that's pretty cool. And so then, over the course of a couple of days, I started to learn a little bit more. My sister was living on this old farm, converted dairy farm into a sugar bush and a land trust with some trails on it and stuff. Typical Vermont story. And I started learning about the economy and how keeping dollars locally was so important, and how there's a strong emphasis on organic farming and sustainability, and just slowing down the speed and the rate at which things were being developed. And that certainly got a lot of wheels turning in my mind, that there's a place out there that doesn't have a strip mall on every corner, and that's remarkable. And there's still a country drive in every direction, and it was pretty remarkable to me. So it got a lot of wheels turning, and went back to the city, continued on my way for a while, and then I think this is the part I was sharing with you that you'll appreciate hearing again, I'm sure. So it's like fast forward quite a ways, and it's Christmas time, and I'm walking down State Street where all the stores are and the windows and all the people, and I'm working on a photo shoot of sorts, and I'm going from place to place, and it's like shoulder to shoulder with people walking down the side of the road, and I see this guy coming towards me, this old guy. And, I'm to my left is a brick wall. So I kind of like get parallel to the brick wall. I move my shoulders out of his way so that he can have the right of way. I'm just trying to be courteous and stay out of the dude's way. And he looks at me and he tenses up his shoulders and he knocks right into me like I'm on the glass playing hockey, and he's trying to check me into the glass. This guy's got to be like 80 something, and, a frail old man. And he knocks right into me, and he looks me square in the eyes, and he just goes, "Asshole." And I couldn't believe it. I was so put off by this because I was trying to do something nice. I was trying to be kind, and this guy went out of his way to try and, put a damper on that. And I ended up walking behind him for a couple of blocks, and I was saying some things to him, and, kind of confrontationally, but I wasn't looking to start a fight with the guy. I just needed to kind of read him the riot act, tell him how I felt. And I got back to my apartment after that, and I thought to myself, you just followed an old man down the road, saying things to him. Like, who actually cares? Why would I stoop so low as to do something like that? And for all I know, the guy could have dementia or something like that, and he didn't know up from down, and why couldn't I have just let him do his thing and go on about my business and continue to spread positivity regardless of where he might be in his life? And I really thought long and hard about that. And probably 3 or 4 days later, I called my sister up and I said, "Hey, Lisa, you got a spot for me in your apartment? You got an extra room there I can rent? Would you mind?" And she said, "Yeah, come on out." And so I stayed there, got my feet planted for a little while. I had no idea what I was going to do. The first thing I did when I got out there, any money I had saved up, I spent on gas and food, and I just drove all over the state of Vermont. I picked up a gazetteer, one of these, road atlases for every dirt road and paved road in the state. And I drove as many of them as I possibly could, because I couldn't wait to just see more of it and get to know it,
So how old were you when the first time you went to Vermont then?
So I was 20. Well, the first time I went to Vermont, I was probably 19. And then I came out, I was, a couple years later. So I was 21.
Okay. So
yeah, so it's fresh.
It's funny because like the first time I was ever in Vermont, I think I was 19 also. This that I remember. Maybe when I was like a tiny little kid, we were there. But my parents, like, it's funny, they skied, but my parents were the kind of people that as soon as the kids were born And my sister and I were both adopted, but it was like as soon as we came around, it was an excuse for them to not do anything anymore. So like they're like, oh, we used to go to like Africa on safari, and we went to South America. We used to go skiing in Vermont, and then like as soon as we came around, it's like we can't do anything now. And so when I was a teenager, it's funny. I actually went with my ex-girlfriend's father and brothers up to Mount Snow to go mountain biking, and I remember it was right when like Princess Diana died. For whatever reason, that was like what was going on in the world. I remember going to Mount Snow and being like, this place is amazing. Because I was into mountain biking. I was playing hockey. I really wasn't into skiing yet. I skied like 3 times in my life at that point. But I remember being there being like, this is so cool. Like you said, the lodge, the smells. And it's the summer, so you're not getting those winter smells. But I was a hockey player. So like I could almost like take the smells from the arena and like plug it into that lodge and be like, oh, I know what this is going to be like. I'm going to like it. But Vermont, it does. There's something that it has. And maybe it is the Green Mountains, it is the vistas, the elevation. There is something that, the old John Muir, the mountains are calling and I must go. It definitely has that sort of vibe, like in real life. Like you can really experience that. And especially when you're at that sort of age where you're kind of open to new things and new experiences, like it really has an impact.
Yeah, it opened a lot of eyes to me, or for me, where I realized that, I had a lot of gratitudes. I was never too stoked about where I grew up. But it was grounding, it allowed me to realize that I had it really good, and my education was strong, and the schools I was able to go to were great. And they had a strong emphasis on fine arts and those things that have kind of fallen to the wayside in so many places. And Vermont kind of helped me understand that as well, for sure. And interesting, just quick fact, my sister and I also, Brian, are adopted.
There you go.
So yeah, it's kind of fun.
Cool connection we got here then.
Right.
And actually, before we go on any further, since we're talking about Vermont, what I think perhaps the conversation that started between us at that Ski Vermont event was about Tomcat. And I was like, what is Tomcat? So I made sure I went out and got a bottle today for this podcast. And I just poured some, and I haven't even tasted it yet. So I'm going to have a little try. So thank you.
Oh, man.
Cheers to
cheers.
Turning me on to this.
That's good stuff.
Ooh, that is very interesting. You're getting a lot of gin, and then you get a little citrus and smoothness with that barrel aging.
It's like
that's nice.
Yeah, it's like a gin that's not a gin.
It's almost like a gin cocktail.
Yeah. Well, it's a Prohibition era drink. They had a lot of extra gin. They had a lot of empty barrels, so they'd store the gin in the barrels, and then it would take on all the whiskey flavors and the oaks and the smokes and all that fun stuff.
That is really good. Nice. So we're talking Vermont. You're up there. So you get there, and what's your journey into the snow sports world then?
Well, so I figure I'll make money off of photography, and then I realized exactly what it was going to take for an investment into equipment. Digital wasn't there yet, it was still
a couple Hasselblads, right?
Yeah, exactly. My T model Ford, and I headed off into the mountains with my cousin Ansel. I realized it was going to be a challenge, and so it became much more of a hobby, and I just picked up a couple jobs doing this and that to make some money. And ultimately I moved in. I met a girl, how every story starts, and she moved into this apartment right on the mountain road up to Bolton Valley, and I started staying there with her. And it's like, whoa, this is cool. That access road's awesome. Bolton's a cool place. It's summertime. There was nothing going on up there at the time. And I met, we're up at the bar one night, how every other good story starts. And I met this guy. By the way, I got a huge whole head of dreadlocks at this point. Nice. I look way different than I do now. And I meet this guy, and he says, hey, with hair like that, you'll never get cold. And I said, yeah, I don't get cold. He said, you should be a snowmaker. I said, that sounds really dumb. Let's do it. And boy, oh boy, did I have a great time. Wowie. That winter was a blast, making snow and figuring that all out. And I'm a glutton for punishment, and that kind of
Was
hard
that at
work
Bolton?
is,
You were
yeah,
making snow?
yeah. That was a fun time. And ultimately, from there, I, without getting into all the details, ins and outs, I ended up, I think the following year, I wasn't living there anymore. And I looked into a job for Smuggler's Notch. I applied for a snowmaking job and said, hey, I've got experience and I want to come work for you. And they didn't call me back. And so I said, all right, well, what else can I do? Well, I could snowboard. Well, I'll try teaching snowboarding. So I took a job teaching snowboarding full time for them. And I worked my butt off. And I had a freaking blast and got really into that. And, took a professional track there and ended up becoming the manager of the snowboard school there.
At Bolton?
And no, at Smuggler's Notch.
At Smugs. Okay.
Yeah, but Smugs. And so I did that for a while, and had a blast, worked really closely with Burton to put together the Riglet program that they've got cranking out all over now. And, working with kids was always a blast. And so trying to help figure out ways for kids to fall in love with snowboarding in an easier fashion than it was, between the equipment, the methodology and everything.
So what's the Riglet program?
So it's basically, Burton Snowboards put out this device called, the program is more than just a device, but it's a device called a Riglet reel, and it mounts to the nose of the snowboard. It's kind of like a retractable dog leash, and it allows you to pull a child around on a flat surface without, pulling their jacket or pushing on their body, and it forces them to find their center of mass. And so then you add to that equipment that's easier for kids to learn on, that's softer and more flexible, and boots that are easy for them to get in and out of. And instead of just shrinking down adult gear, actually developing gear that is catered towards kids. And then you apply a teaching and like a learning philosophy to it all that basically says you don't need snow to learn how to snowboard. We brought it to a gym class and we started working on a program there. We brought it to Central Park in the summertime, and we would teach kids in Central Park at these big events, and they loved it. You could pull them around on any surface as long as it was somewhat slippery. I wouldn't do asphalt, but.
So you put it actually use a regular snowboard on like grass or whatever?
Yeah, you could. They also started putting out these specific plastic Riglet boards that are really durable plastic, and
okay,
they don't have edges, so you can use them inside. You pull them around in the living room, and they're not going to damage the furniture if you cut in the corners and stuff. Basically, you tell your young kids as soon as they can walk, you say, "Here, put your stuffed animal on this snowboard and pull them around." Next thing you know, the kid sees the snowboard as a friendly tool or a friendly toy, and so then when you start telling your kid, all right, you get on that board, I'm going to pull you around, they trust it already and they want to do
clever, yeah.
Otherwise, people roll up to a mountain, Brian, and they throw their kids into the equipment and they say, all right, go take a lesson. And the poor coaches have to deal with these kids that are freaking out because it's heavy equipment they've never seen before. Mom and dad just ditched them. It's snowing sideways and it's windy and cold. And, the whole idea is give them a leg up before you even go to the mountain. Get them prepared for what they're going to get into. So they want to go to the mountain. So the kid wants to go, not just the parent.
Yeah, it's funny at the Snowbound, the PSIA, ANCI, whatever the
ANCI.
Yeah. She was talking, she's like the head of the CEO of the Eastern division of that.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking about the Austrians, how they teach their kids to ski. Because, here we're like, let's find a hill and throw them down the hill. In Austria, they put them on a flat surface. And they're like, their whole methodology is we want them to seek out speed. Like we want them to be kind of like moving to the point that they want to find the speed to make their turns. And it's kind of like, well, that's how you breed racers, because again, they're always looking for more and more speed, which I thought, it's probably trickier as a snowboarder because you can't find speed. Like you need to have an incline, otherwise you get your foot out, and you're not going to be able to just hop right in on the fly and go, unless you have one of those new kind of Burton clip-in bindings that Dave Downing was talking about, which seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the way we teach, it's it's cool that you guys kind of rethought about what kids need, because it's so easy to, like I said, take what the adults do and just give kids the same experience, the same gear, when they really do need very different handling.
Yeah, well, what you say about flat ground, I mean, that's the other component to it, is you groom a couple of terrain features into a flat area, and then you can pull them around on it.
Yeah.
And so they learn about flexion, extension, rotation, all these things that are critical, but they're not fighting against gravity to do it, and they're not risking a hard slam that might hurt, and they fall in love with it. Sometimes it's slower than others, but in the end, I mean, it works great. I've got 5 kids here that are all walking snowboarding proof.
Snowboarding beasts.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that is so cool. So then you're teaching snowboarding now at Smugs. What's the next evolution after that?
I ended up, I started up some of their social media accounts and doing that stuff and writing for their magazines and really capturing the emotion of it in writing. And ended up, there was a vacancy in PR, and I took over in a PR job there, doing that stuff for Smugs. Whoa, too much Tomcat.
Ooh, too much Tomcat, baby.
So I was doing the PR thing, and obviously I'm passionate enough, so that was easy peasy to talk about to tell the story to the masses, really. COVID came, really shook things up, and especially for small independent resorts, it was really scary. And so I went a different direction, started working with my wife to develop rebrand a photo business. She's been a photographer shooting weddings and portraits for about 17 years prior to that. So we started redeveloping that direction and working together, which is like our favorite thing on earth to do. It's just be together, work together. And so this J job came open in September. JJ Tolan, the former director of communications up there, took a job at his former stomping grounds down at Sugarbush, and all of a sudden the internet starts exploding with, holy crap, who's going to take this job? Where's this? Who's awesome job alert? Who's putting in all these groups I'm in, and snow sport professionals and everything. Like, who's
and people
putting
probably
in for this
freaking
job?
out too. Like, oh, what's happening to Jay? Like, are they going to shut down or get sold to China?
What are they going to do without the most sarcastic man on earth telling their tale? Who knows? And so ultimately, I put my name in the drawing, and they must have pulled it out of a hat or something. I don't think I'm qualified for it, but boy, oh boy, they trust me. So holy shit, we're gonna do this.
One of 600 people who applied for the job, and you came out on top.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I started up there in September, and that was the day before the auction occurred.
The day before the auction is your first day.
That was the day before.
Welcome to your first day. We have no idea how day 2 is going to be. So.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll say this. I guess one thing that was helpful is that I did know Steve, casually through industry stuff, but also, we have a commonality between us, and that's the Grateful Dead. And we both really, really dig the Grateful Dead. And there's an unwritten rule in there that, it is kind of a big family. And so
like Deadheads stick together or something.
Yeah, there is kind of a level of trust in there to an extent. So I think that really kind of helps.
Is there any chance you maybe like dropped acid together like 20 years ago?
20 years ago? Calendars.
15 years ago?
20 days ago, man. Who knows? Kidding, of course.
We actually had a pretty good acid joke at Snowbound too at that media event.
Yes, I think
They're
we did.
giving us those water bottles, and there was some paper in
Yeah.
there, and we were joking that maybe it was acid in there, but I believe sadly it was not. We had
It wasn't, but the blue ink on the paper did dye my tongue. I'll tell you that much.
It's probably we were hoping for the best, but
Yeah, I had to work the next day, so it's probably for the better.
yeah.
No, so I start this job, and right out the gate, Steve and Kim Hewitt, who's the marketing director, they gave me everything I needed to be successful. They gave me all the support that I needed, and they gave me all the trust that I also needed so that I could sit down and start working. They gave me space so that I could crank out what I needed to do, but they also had the trust in me. They believed in me and gave me all the information I needed to be successful going into something as intense as that.
What was that energy like then that first day?
Dude, it was heavy. It was really heavy. Steve does a remarkable job of just being cool. And in something like that, I mean, there's no other way to approach it, really. You can't let yourself stress about it because it's the direction. Ultimately, the sale of that resort was a relief. There was a giant sigh of relief that was breathed throughout that company. But it was intense. It was definitely intense, and when PGRI put that initial bid in, they were looking for a long time, and they were thinking about Jay for a long time. So it was calculated. And, there were two other companies that came in and ended up, I think the total amount of time, we figured it'd be maybe 2 hours long, the auction. And, 5 hours later, right? 5 hours later, there's still media camped outside our offices, and, there's flying ants buzzing all around because it was like a weird hot fall day, and just to add to the chaos. And next thing we know, it's done. Like right around 5 o'clock, everything's done. And it was kind of a moment where everyone said, "All right, well, I guess we can go home now." But again, that sigh of relief, it was palpable, man. People were a little nervous. They were relieved. And ultimately, as time went by and it got closer and closer to the actual closing of the sale, because like on a house, you don't actually own the house until you take that stupid photo next to the realtor holding the keys, right? And you got the deed in your hand, and you got your signed loan for $1 bajillion and a fake smile on your face because you're freaking out. You don't know what you're going to do. That didn't happen until, just a few weeks ago. And so in that interim time, there was a lot of work to get prepped for it. And then as soon as that closing occurred, it was like, welcome to the family coming from the guys at PGRI. It was awesome. And I think once, Vern Greco, the CEO, and Mark Fisher, the CFO, they came down and addressed the entire staff at Jay, everyone who was working, and a couple of other folks that slipped through. And it was really cool. They were real. They were honest. They made funny jokes. They, admitted where they may have tripped up along the way. And, so there was a level of humility that they showed people. And I think it really shared to the staff that this is a really good direction to go. It was a really, really cool meeting. And again, what was expected to last for like 2 hours, it included lunch in the middle of the day. And they ended up having to say like, "Hey, we're going to do questions and answers, but we're running out of time here. So you might as well start eating." They're dismissing tables like we're at a wedding while they're still conducting this meeting. And that's because everybody was interested and asking really good questions, and they had really honest answers. And it's been really cool. They're a great company to bring JPeak into the future. It's going to be awesome.
That's really good to hear. Because so the initial bid was 58 million, right? That's what came in over the summer in August, and then it took like another month where they actually had the auction taking place.
Yeah, I called it the Jays between. That's a dead reference in case you didn't pick up on it. But yeah, because that happened in August, and they were kind of like the days between, and that was. It was kind of. I think a lot of people saw the headlines and figured, "Oh, cool, Jay got sold. There's a company that's going to buy him now. And that's the price tag." But it's a lot heavier than that when it comes down to it. There's a lot more formalities and red tape and everything. So that was the initial bid. I think I had never heard this term before myself, but I think the gift horse bid or something like that.
Gift horse bid,
something like that. Huh. That's over my pay grade, Brian. But I'll tell you what, it got things rolling, and then at the last minute, these two other companies slipped in and said, all right, let's do this. So it went to auction.
Yeah. And they jacked the price up 18 million. So
they sure did.
Yeah.
But, as the guys at PGRI say, they really, they continued to go for it because they saw it still as a worthwhile investment. And that means a lot to the community at JPeak.
Was there any trepidation on your end taking a job at Jay with kind of things in the balance?
No, not really. I wanted to be part of that team, and even if it was just for a month and a half, so be it. I really wanted to know what it was actually like on the inside of such an awesome company. I was kind of, I think I was saying this standing around drinking coffee with you. It was almost like I was being told, to never appreciate anything that company ever did from other employers in the industry. And that wasn't very fair because there's a lot that you can admire about that company from afar. And somebody in communications, if they don't admire what that company's been doing throughout all of this, they're maybe they want to change jobs, find a different field say they handled that with poise, and they stuck to their guns, and JJ and Kim and Steve really did wonders for that place throughout that receivership. It was really cool.
I think, someone like yourself who's been at a couple different resorts and had different experiences, you probably can see where the value in leadership can really steer I don't know if it's the motivation, the belief in a vision. When you have someone like Steve who, you hear him talk and you're like, yeah, man, whatever you say, like, I'm with you. Where, other folks, at another place or people in the industry talking negatively, it's almost like when you, as a kid, you like, I want to be a baseball player. Then you kind of hear like all the dirty, nasty stuff, steroids, and you're like, oh, but they were my heroes. Like, I had like Darryl Strawberry and Mark McGuire on my walls. I'm like, oh, they were all like cheaters and cokeheads and roidsers. It's like, it's almost like pulling back the curtain and things aren't what you seem or aren't what they seem. And then you find someone who's kind of embodies what you thought it was. And it just makes it so much better because you've seen kind of the negative aspect of it.
I'm still riding that high, man, to be honest. I come home and I see my family, and to be honest, it's challenging for us. My wife and I have been working together from home for a good chunk of time now, and we love it. And for me to take this job where I'm commuting 40 minutes to an hour every day, and there's no service, I can't even get on a phone call or do any of that. I just have to listen to these podcasts and
rotting your brain.
Yeah, gosh, it's just killing me slowly,
making me dumber.
Point being, though, I get home at the end of the day and I'm tired, and I really I miss my family tremendously, but I still smile about it because I feel great coming out of that place. And they make it really easy to work hard. Does that make sense?
100%. I think we've all been in those, jobs at one point in our life where, yeah, you're banging something out and you're like, wow, I didn't realize it like 4 hours went by because you you're in the flow state, and you're almost doing what you feel like you're meant to do, and it just feels natural.
It is. It feels great. And as far as writing and whatnot goes, I think, looking at voice, the voice that I used to write in was way harder than the voice I can write in now, because this is a very conversational and casual writing style. It's
More natural.
It's honest and natural, and you can throw in some sarcasm and just be real, rather than, it's not your typical marketing where you're just sugarcoating everything and throw a couple exclamations in there and maybe we'll sell some more. It's a totally different objective, and it encompasses the emotion that we all tie in to skiing and snowboarding and the industry and mountain life. It allows you to reflect on the challenges that we all endure to make it to the mountain, to bring our families to the mountain, to spend our money at the mountain. It's just great. It's really fun work. It's really fun work to work at Jay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is like a typical day for you at Jay?
A typical day, I'll drive up there. I bought a motorcycle to offset the miles in the summertime. So I have this.
Oh, very cool. What kind?
It's an old Honda CX 500. And this dude worked on it during COVID. He was living with his folks and put some work into it. So, I can't go too fast on it because I don't know if you know this secret, Brian. I don't actually know how to ride a motorcycle. I bought it when I got this job. So
devil's in the details on motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
Have you owned motorcycles before?
No.
Good for you, man.
No, not at all. I rode one. My ex-wife had a Harley. I rode it once on the mountain road at Smugglers. I broke 100, and a t-shirt and skate shoes and shorts and a helmet that I couldn't buckle. And I parked it and I said, I'm never doing that again. I don't have the control. And, here I am, and it's more of a necessity than anything because I don't want to drive a Toyota Tundra up that road every day if I don't have to. So
10 miles to the gallon.
Oh, man. So I bought this thing and I'm learning how to ride it. It's fun. So typical day, I scare the crap out of myself. I get into work. It's a beautiful drive.
Look, I'm alive. High fives. Boom.
Yeah. Adrenaline's pumping. Haven't even had any coffee yet, and I'm buzzing. I come in and I've got my lists. I check in on social and make sure everything's still running smoothly. I'll make myself a list of what to do and start hammering out. Usually there's writing I got to do for, outbound emails and communications of that nature. A couple of fires I might have to put out here and there. Following up with guests and just, it's really important to all of us that we're humans that represent Jay and Jay Peak and the community sees that, if they reach out to us, they can actually talk to a real person. And again, it's about that trust, right? It's about being honest with people. If you screw something up, you eat it, you take it and you say, yep, that's on me. Sorry about that. And in the end, people appreciate that. It's in this day and age, especially, they want to talk to humans.
Oh man. Like I know so many people that over the last, 2 years, the last 2 years, yes, running a business has been a whole nother level of complicated because of COVID and lockdowns. And, the resort that owned your initial Wilmot Mountain, let's call that whatever they're called, trail. I've known people who bought their Epic passes and tried to reach a human being on the phone to find out the status. It's end of November. Where is my Epic pass? And just on hold for hours. What sort of confidence does that put in you as a consumer? Granted, they're screwed because where they live, those are the resorts that are under that pass. So it's not like they have a choice, but to treat your customers that way, I guess that's what happens when you get that big and you don't really have to care and put in the effort anymore.
Yeah, that's it. That's you summed it up right there. It's important to still
it's like
have
being
a
an insurance
face,
company.
a real face. Right.
Like, hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, that's one of the tickets, right? And it takes a lot of extra time, and it takes it takes staffing to do that. But in the end, it's worth it because you create trust within your stakeholders and your community, and um, you have people that want to come back time after time after time. And if something goes awry, they might have some understanding with them for it. And if you have to break the news that there's been a large scandal going on, or if a local publication say breaks that news for you, and you have to face the public and say, yeah, this happened in our company, but that's not who we are, and that's not who we will be. That's where people believe in you. And I think what those guys did that I had nothing to do with really tells that story, and it's living, walking proof that, just being real, being honest, and telling it how it is, and keeping your head focused and positive, and really, now we're getting hippy dippy, but that's the key to it. I mean, that's just the same way we teach our kids here in our family, like, just be real.
It's hippy dippy, but you know what? There's a reason why people are drawn to that, because it's very natural. It's very human. And, a lot of times now with everything being online and social media and people yelling at each other, they don't even know the person or know their whole story. It's like once you return to that and you experience that again, that humanity, which a lot of us over the last 2 years have been without, you realize how important it is. Like it really is so critical to have that human touch. And as things get more digital, that analog experience is going to have, I think, more and more value to keep us human until we're officially the Matrix, which, I don't know. I'm trying to fight as much as I can while still embracing technology.
Yeah, I hear you there, Neo.
Whoa.
Yeah, Morpheus. I'll tell you, I was working with Ski Area Management magazine before I took this job at Jay, and just doing a little bit of writing for those guys, and just having that was kind of my way of staying fresh in the industry and staying in touch with people at different resorts. And the story that I kept hearing time and time and time again when talking about asking people, like, talking to GMs and marketing directors, like, give me some success stories. This winter's been a challenge, right? You've had no staff. The snow has been fickle. How have you stayed above water and kept afloat? Give me some success stories here. And, the ones that were the most successful all said the same thing. And it was, well, we adjusted the way we communicated, and we just kind of told it how it is. If there's crazy amounts of traffic coming up the road and we put it out on Twitter, like, hey, if you haven't left home yet, don't bother. We never would have done that a couple of years ago, but now we do it, and people respond with, oh crap, cool, thanks, instead of condemning them, or saying, what are you doing to fix your traffic problems? They say, wow, cool, thanks for saving me that time. I'm going to go do something else now.
Yeah.
It's something to be said for that, huh?
Yeah, that is a great story. And I know, during the pandemic, there was certain things that resorts had to do. I know a couple places that I went to, they'd create those little kind of almost like ramshackle cabanas. They'd great for the carpenters in the area. You put one of these together, you could rent them out for the season, but it allowed people to keep coming together, which again, hippy dippy, but that's what we were all kind of looking to do. And that's what kind of, kept us human, kept us doing what we love doing.
Totally, man. The NSAA numbers say it all, right? The number of skier visits have been tremendous. And it's because, again, people are realizing, hey, that's a safe place we can come together. Let's come together. Let's do it. Let's get our friends together, and let's get out there. Let's hang out together. Let's feel good about it. It's about time people realize that, it's KNOW, Friends on a POW Day. I keep saying that, and it's gonna, I'm sure people are sick and tired of hearing it, but man,
you should just put those in stickers all over the lift at Jay.
Yeah, really.
Every chairlift should have one of those.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to be with your friends on a powder day?
Unless you have like really lame friends, it's like, but why would you have lame friends in the first place? I mean,
Yeah.
I know I do, but I have like summertime friends, and then I have like wintertime friends.
Yeah,
You know, I
100%.
think we're all kind of like that, right?
My wife and I say that around here all the time. We've come to terms with the fact that some of those friends, it's not so much friends out of convenience. It's just that we have so much stuff going on when we're not at the mountain. But when the snow's on the ground, we make that time to spend together, and that's our opportunity to make those connections and to fortify those connections. And that's okay, because those connections remain even during those summer months when we can't get together. And maybe we have a fire out once in a while, and we hang into the wee hours of the night. But in the end, it's about those friendships. It's about those relationships. It's about those memories that we all make together, and those high fives, those parking lot beers, those the muddy feet on the dogs coming up and jumping on your snow pants. That's part of it. That's the life we live.
That's the experience, yeah. So speaking of experiences, what can people expect now that Pacific Resort Group bought Jay? Like, what can people expect this season coming up there?
Great question. That's the
More
question
Canadians, of
everybody's
course.
asking. Well, yeah, the border's open again, so we're going to see huge Canadian numbers again this year.
Hashtag more Canadians.
So that's awesome to welcome back, that huge portion of our market up at Jay Peak. But really, PGRI isn't making tremendous changes, and that applies to a couple of things, really. People are saying, all right, cool. What new stuff are they going to build? What are they doing for CapEx? And you got to remember that the price tag was, 18 million more than they wanted it to be to begin with. And so they kind of need to come in and get settled and kind of figure out how things are running before they're going to start tossing a lot of money at it. But that at the same time, they're not going to be taking things away and making massive changes, because that's not their style. They fully recognize, and you guys have said this before. Christian Knapp is a strong advocate, the chief marketing officer. He says it. He does a really good job on his Twitter of kind of describing how those guys feel towards changes at Jay Peak, and recognizing that it's the team at Jay that carried through this receivership, and to come in and just go making changes there wouldn't be in the best interest of the company, and either company, either Jay Peak or PGRI. So we're not going to see too many changes. Something cool that was new that we just started doing is with alongside the PGRI family of sister resorts is the Mission Affordable quad pack lift ticket pack. And for $259, you can get 4 totally transferable lift tickets, good any day of the year. And so it comes down to like $65 a ticket to come ride Jay. Freaking awesome place, man. It's like the most real mountain on earth.
There's a lot lesser places that are more in your same state.
Yeah, right.
I'm not saying any names.
Well,
protect
everybody's got something cool going on.
For sure.
Everybody's got their own little niche, and that's okay. Now, at the same time, some have better deals than others, and that's just what you get in any diverse industry, really. So
I'm just looking at that place that I'm not going to mention that I was talking about, and just curious to see what their lift ticket price is. If I were to buy it, $135 at the window. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey. If you can if people are going to pay it, God bless you.
Right.
$135. Okay. And now you guys are still doing the Indy Pass this year, right?
Yeah, still on Indy. So that's a really cool thing. I think I can't speak on what's going to happen with that, but I know that the relationship that's been built with Doug and what he's done with Indy Pass has been awesome for Jay and awesome for Indy Pass too. The number of folks that haven't been able to muster the strength and courage to get up to Jay and check it out, who are on Indy and say, well, dude, now we got to do this. There's big numbers. And, we get like an Indy lodging deal too. So you can save on lodging if you're an Indy Pass holder. And, there's a lot of good benefits to Indy, and give you the opportunity to check places out. It's one of my favorite things about being in the industry is the opportunities we have to see other mountains. Because in the end, Brian, it's like you were saying, and I was saying a minute ago, like one place might have a lift ticket that's through the roof, but it's not like the place is a total dump either, right? It's usually pretty sweet, I've got places around here that I love to go, and to be honest, if I wasn't working in the industry, I might have a job that I could afford a ticket at that price. Yeah. But in the end, I think the experience is great. There's a lot of lifts. They're fast. They get you all over the place. There's, dining on mountain. Just everybody's got their own thing, and it's okay if it's different from one mountain to another.
And it should be. And again, there's definitely charms that every mountain has, their own little quirks, their own little, their own little epic runs that you're like, this is the best run in this place, and it may not be the best place, the place you want to go, but it may have enough that it keeps you coming back, or it, intrigues you enough to go. You heard about it from someone. You got to go check out this run at this place. And it may change your mind about this mountain.
Well, I'll tell you, as somebody who's still 10 minutes away from Smugs, and my wife coaches snowboarding there. I hired her a million years ago, by the way, before she was my wife, and she still coaches snowboarding up there. And we're still going to have passes there. I'm still going to have a great time riding up there, and I'll still be the first person. They used to hate when I said this when I was doing PR there, but I'd still be the first person to chain myself to the tower on some of those lifts if they said they were going to replace them. Those double chairs are good for the mountain. And, while they definitely could use an upgrade down low, where the bulk of their volume is, especially during busy times, like it's probably not happening anytime soon. But if it did on the upper mountain, it would change the way that whole place skis. They'd have to widen the trails, and that's what gives that place so much character. You'd start losing powder stashes. You'd open it up for more wind. I say that all the time.
Yeah. So sometimes things should remain charming as they are.
Yeah, totally. And tip of the hat to the ski patrol at Smugs, because they have to hear, probably 100 times a day. What do you mean there's no bathrooms on top of this mountain? Right? But come on.
Wear a diaper.
You don't go to a place like that for bathrooms on top of the mountain. You go there to get down to business, right?
This isn't Snow Basin.
Right.
We don't have the gold-plated faucets here.
Yeah, and can you believe they don't have a single chandelier at that mountain made out of antlers?
I mean, can you really even call yourself a ski lodge without an antler, an antlerier? Is that what they call it? Antlerier?
Make it happen, man.
That sounds like a hashtag.
Send it to the Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. Well, speaking of powder stashes, do you have a favorite trail at Jay?
So that's a heavy question. There's a lot of really good zones at Jay. The thing about Jay is that it gets windy up there, right? And so that wind will move snow from one place to another. And you might have a day where we only get 4 inches overnight, but you get into one zone over here on this aspect, and it's just below your knee, or mid just above your boot. Where 4 inches skis more like a foot plus, and then you get to another aspect, and you don't see any of that 4 inches. So I guess it depends on the day when you ask me, but I find myself. I really, on those days where it just keeps coming and you get the free refills, I find myself going into right off, right below one of the towers for the tram is a little zone called Vertigo, right? You see that? I see you looking. You're looking at a map.
I got the trail map up. Yeah. Oh yeah.
The Vertigo shoots are really fun because you can get it. It's wicked steep at the top, right? And you can get into them, and if the snow is right, you can really kind of send into it, and it's good steep landings, and then it takes you through. You can get into these little nooks and crannies through there, which is what I like. I don't need wide open lines. I like to get deep in the trees, and it doesn't need to be a cut trail or a glade for me to dig it. You should look at my black jacket. It's just covered in lines from the branches. We call it Sneakin' Sally. Here's a new term for you.
Sneakin' Sally.
Add that one to your antler ear. Here, I'll use it in a sentence, right? Oh man, I was riding that line over there, and then I realized over to the right, those willy whackers, I got in there, I was sneaking Sally. Holy cow, it was like waist deep.
I like it.
Sally. It's, when you get off the beaten path and you find all the fresh and you just eat it. You love it.
I gotta tell you, just looking at this trail map right now, like I got a smile on my face. Like because I've only skied at J once, and it was an epic day. And every year it's like, hopefully I'll make it back. Hopefully I'll make it back. And just looking at these again, it's like jogging my memory of like what an epic day it was and why I need to get back this season.
Yeah, there's so much fun stuff off the top of the tram on the face, and all down that ridge you can see it. Getting down toward like Valhalla and those zones where it's really like, if you play your cards right, you just start close to the top, and you just keep every run. You just drop a little lower and drop a little lower and drop a little lower, and there's always a fresh line on that mountain you can find. Always, if you look, and it's not about knowing where to look. It's just about looking.
Yeah,
you slow yourself down. You start peeking through the trees, and you find them.
Be the mountain. So one last question then. I know Jay is in a very unique spot. Doesn't have the village. Well, it's got sort of like a little villagey thing there. What would you say is the best après spot at Jay?
Well, you end up at the bull wheel, and there's music in there a lot of times, and that's just anytime you can mix live music with the buzz you have coming off the mountain. It's freaking great, right? So it's just amazing how that works. On Saturdays at the bull wheel, that's at the bottom of Stateside and Stateside Lodge.
It's so funny how that just it's like almost like a magical formula. Like it's so simple, but like that post skiing and boarding, beer and live music. I mean, there's really, you could be at like Game 7 of the World Series, and it's like, yeah, this baseball game's exciting, but that beer, music, ski buzz is just the greatest. It's like the greatest sporting feeling in the world.
Yeah, totally. There's not nearly as much rhythm in a baseball game as there is when you're making turns down a mountain, right? Everybody gets into their own rhythm. And you might be changing your pace a little bit, but that's okay because songs and the rhythm and music changes all the time too. But
it's your pace.
Exactly. It's your pace. Yeah. And so throughout the day, you're making your turns. You got your rhythm, whether you're listening to music or not. And you get off the mountain, you're surrounded by friends. You have a really tasty Vermont beer. J-Way IPA just came out from 14th Star. It's
nice.
Great stuff. We just stocked that. It's like a hazy IPA. It's awesome. It literally just landed in the market at the resort today. And, we'll have it on draft for Friday's Day for the Devoted. It's gonna be a good party, man.
I mean, just getting that beer could be inspiration or motivation enough people to get up to Jay this winter.
It's a good place to be. It's going to be an awesome winter for us.
Come for the beer, stay for the skiing and snowboarding, right?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm down.
Right?
There's a lot of cool dogs around that place too. I like
cool
the dogs.
So now, are dogs? So I had another question that I just sort of thought of. So when did you stop riding your motorcycle? What week? What month?
Let's see. We've been making snow consistently for, I think, 15 days. And I rode my bike the day before we fired up, so 16 days ago.
Oh wow!
And
Okay.
now this is a weird year where like it went from 75 degrees and warm, and everyone's getting a little nervous. You didn't see anybody with a remotely like long fingernail anywhere around the company, anywhere around the resort, right? Because it's so warm, and we're like, okay, we're talking about opening day coming around the corner here, but like we're wearing short sleeves. And that day, the weather turned throughout the day, and I was busy, and I kind of had my mind set to ride that day. It was right after the time change occurred, and it was warm. I rode up, and as the day's going on, it's just so windy out. It's so windy, and I get in and I just sit at my desk and I just work and work and work, and sometimes I don't even go outside. At least like right now, getting ready to open. And so like in the afternoon, I go outside the office. I step outside, dude, it's like 20, 25 degrees colder. And I'm like,
Should have taken the tundra.
Crap. And so, it starts getting dark, and I ended up kind of like throwing the towel in for the day, telling my coworkers, like, guys, I'm not dressed for this. I gotta go. And oh man, it was a really intense ride home, between how dark it was getting, how freaking windy it was, how chilly. And I got so many kids at home, and I actually love my wife, and
you want to risk your life.
Sorry, I'm not referring to anybody when I say that, by the way. It's just a general sarcastic remark. But, I want to make it home. And so I'm not screwing around on this thing. I'm not being an idiot. I know I'm a new rider. So, like, I have a lot of respect for safety elements of it.
Was it like Dumb and Dumber?
Oh, my gosh. It wasn't far off, man. Oh, crap. I got home, and I was just like, wow, that was okay, cool. Here we go. And then the next day it was brutally cold, and it snowed, and just like totally different game. And it snowed at J Peak every day since. And I think it hasn't been big, giant dumps or anything like that, but I think we're at 20 inches we've gotten now.
That's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's a lesson in staying positive.
Seriously.
There's never a need to start cursing at the weather, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Amen to that. And on that sounds like a perfect spot to wrap it up.
Cool.
Mike, thank you so much for your time. Where can people get more information about you and J Peak?
Go to jpeakresort.com. We do a pretty good job up there. Find us on social media. We say a lot of dumb stuff all the time on social. So tune in and you get to listen to it. There's some relevant stuff in there too, I'd say.
And please, if you haven't been up there, go to J Peak. If you're in the Northeast, I mean, what are you doing? It's a great place. It's run by great people, obviously, and it's some of the gnarliest, most fun terrain around in Vermont, in the Northeast. So highly recommend it. Mike, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And everyone, get up to Jay.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Mario, thanks, man.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. We'll chat again soon.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed that. If you want more information, we got links in the show notes at skibumpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it. Check us out, skibumpodcast.com. Go to the website. You got a few more days. skibumpodcast.com/shop. You can pre-order one of these sweet ski boot t-shirts. Also, everything else is on sale on the
red
site.
boots. Red boots.
You're buying the red boots. Everything's on sale. So please buy something for your loved ones, for yourself. Holiday season's coming up.
Good stocking stuffer.
Follow us on the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Untapped, YouTube, at Ski Bum Podcast. Go to our Patreon. throw us a few bucks every month. That would be great. It'd really help us out.
Say, hey, we like you guys.
We need some
Cool.
more infrastructure. We want to do some more trips, get some more information, get some cool new people on here. Patreon.com/skibumpodcast. Is that it? That's a lot of stuff. Chuck Bucket. Thank you so much. The Chuck Bucket. Go check them out. Great way to haul your gear around. skibumpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. Thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Stay high, stay fluid.
See ya.